Hi, everybody. Welcome to our podcast. I am so excited today to have the wonderful, authentic bestseller of Amazon, Sharon Lynn Wyeth, as my guest. Hello, hello, hello.
It is fabulous to join with you, Susan.
I'll
Thank
tell
you for
you,
inviting me.
You are beyond welcome. And the reason I say this is because anybody who's read your books, I mean, this is going to be a fun show because you have written 3 books and one more in the making that's coming out soon.
Correct.
Okay, so we've got Know the Name, Know the Person. We've got Know the Name, Know the Spirit. And we have Know the Name, Know How to Connect.
Right, because relationships are so important. The quality of your life is directly proportional to the quality of your relationships. And so that one book, it's short, it's simple, it literally says, this is how you can connect with anybody, this is how you start a conversation, this is what they need from you if you want a long-term friendship, this is what kind of gifts they like. There's so much information in a very nice short book. The other ones are longer.
And so many people ask me, how do I connect with spirit? Okay, and this is a great book. I recommend anybody to read this. The one that I started reading, okay, which I finished, I've read all your books, Know the Name, Know the Person. Now, love this book because this book literally tells the story of your name.
Yes, it does.
Oh, my God.
And it tells you how to do it for yourself on anybody's name, no matter how they spell it, no matter what language it's in.
How accurate this was, though. I'm going to tell you, right on the money. Anybody who wants to name a child, seriously, think about the name. Get Sharon's book because Sharon's book it's like you said, it's very easy. It's an easy read. But there is name, meaning, and purpose to all of this.
Well, think about it in our Bible, in the Quran, in any of the great books that are out there, the Bhagavad Gita, it doesn't matter. They all talk about names. Like, for an example, in the Bible, it starts with Adam and Eve,
right.
But then it goes to Abraham, but his name was not Abraham to begin with, okay? And Sarai, it wasn't Sarah. And so when God came to both of them, he added an AH in their name to both of them. And then they became on mission. And the AH in your name says you're on mission. You're part of the 2% of the population on mission.
Interesting.
Now, what's really interesting about that is sometimes I look at the name and I think, they're not on mission for God. They're on mission for the other side. But they're still on mission.
Interesting.
So you have to know how to read the whole name.
Okay. So Travis and I, we are so excited to have you on the show because Travis wants to know about his name. Okay. So what do you see for Travis? What does his name mean?
So Travis, you like to be on top of whatever you're doing. If you don't think you can get all the way to the top, you don't even want to start. It's like all or nothing. The only time we're going to find you in the middle is when you're on the way to the top. Okay? Okay? You have a natural sex appeal. People are just naturally attracted to you. Okay? Very independent, constantly learning, love to keep learning, right? You can't stand it when somebody lies to you. It's like, oh no, you lied once, you don't get a second chance. I may have to be polite, but that's it. I don't trust you again. Right. You know, I mean, it's almost impossible for somebody to re-earn their trust with you. It's going to take years and years and years of demonstration once they've blown it. Right. Okay? You're overly sensitive to criticism. Sometimes you want to shut down and quit when criticized. Okay? So you have to learn how to self-talk and say, it's okay, that's that person's issue, not really mine. They're just using me to reflect it back to them. Okay. Right? Okay, you're very good with drama, trauma, whatever that's called.
That's true.
You're very good with that, trying to calm everybody down that's around.
He calmed me down when I had the accident, when I had the car accident. I was a mess, and he came to my rescue. I'll never forget it. I was so grateful to you. But he did. He was so calming. He is great in a crisis.
Yeah, so it's you're very good with what I call trauma drama.
Right.
Calm it down.
You know, it's okay, people. We're going to get through this. You have in your name where people try to take from you what you do not want to give. Okay, now that can show up in all different kinds of ways. Yeah. That can show up where they take your physical belongings. They can take your peace of mind. They can take your ideas and claim them as theirs. Mm-hmm. Okay, yeah, all of it happens because it's sitting right there in your name. When I see that in a name, I always say, you've got to think safety first. Always think safety. And literally, for your peace of mind, when you go into a restaurant, look where the back door is. sit near it,
I do that a lot.
or sit where you're always facing the front door so you can see what's coming in.
Always on the outside.
Yeah, always on the outside, and so you want to be able to see what's coming in. You never want your back to whatever somebody can enter.
I do that all the time.
Okay,
It's weird.
so yeah,
How she knew that.
I don't know.
because you've got that in your name.
That is, I mean, you are hitting it. You are hitting it. I love
I can
it.
talk 2 hours on what I see in somebody's
I
name.
love it. But this is a big intuition. I think you are very psychic. I think you have big mediumship abilities. So for everybody that's listening, Sharon is a wonderful author. We do know that. And for the people that haven't gotten a book, please get her books. We will say that the books again before the show ends. But you are an incredible intuitive because you can look at something and you can dissect it like a fine-tooth comb.
Well, thank you. And I teach others how to do it so they don't have to be psychic.
I love it.
This took me 15 years to develop and get
Okay.
the accuracy there. And then I went and traveled to over 70 countries testing it with different religions to see if it'd be just as accurate.
And it can.
It is,
I
as
believe
long as
that.
they're using our letters, whatever. And then, yes, my team, my guidance team, my guardian angels, whatever you want to call your team, right? They definitely helped guide me all the way through developing this. That's why it's so accurate.
It's funny, when I do sessions, people say, well, my mother or my father or my uncle, they didn't speak English. How are you going to be able to get the message? Could you get the messages? I said, absolutely.
Yes,
I
because
can get the messages. I can even tell right away who didn't speak English in this lifetime. But yet the messages are coming and they're like, oh my God, your father is saying that da-da-da-da-da-da. And they're saying, this is what he always said in Arabic or in Chinese. How did you know? And I said, because it's really weird. But even dogs, when animals come through, they are telling me what they passed from.
See, and I look at it that they all talk in symbols.
Absolutely.
And we've learned how to interpret the symbols. That's
Absolutely.
it. They're paying us to be translators.
That's it.
That's it.
That's what we are. And even with the dog, I will feel something and I'll feel a lump on my kidney, or I will feel very lethargic, or my kidneys are, even your cat, did you have kidney failure? Yes. I said, how do you know this? I said, because I'm feeling this on my body.
Yes, and in your name, Susan, it says that you are a feeler. Me, I don't feel any of it.
I feel my body takes a beating whenever I do these sessions. I said, okay, breast cancer, tumor. I mean, you name it, I have felt it. And I'm like, wow.
And for me, all of a sudden, it's a knowingness. I just know that's the way it was.
I love that.
I mean,
I would love that, just not to take a tear and wear on my body, because that's what I'm doing, because it really is hard. But you know what? It's a great thing that you know this. I love that. So, okay, what would you tell parents? This is a question, okay? After reading this book, I thought about if my daughter ever had a child of her own, okay, how would we go about, what are we going to name our future baby?
Okay, so when there were still only 7 religions on the planet, before I jokingly say that they multiplied and divided and everybody made up their own, when there was still only 7, they all agreed on 10 or 12, depending on how you divided them, basic ideas. And one of the basic ideas that all of them agreed on is that the incoming soul impresses upon the one naming them what they want to be called. So we've all named ourselves. Now I say, once you get that impression and you know what your child wants to be named, call me, let me help you spell it. Because you can choose between a C or a K and get the same sound. Mm-hmm. You can choose between certain letters, or we just switch out a letter here. Let's give the soul the lessons that they're choosing that are sitting in their name, and let's make them easier.
So let me ask you this. I never liked my name, okay? My full name is Susanna, but I went with Susan. To me, it spoke to me better. Now, a lot of times people go, oh, I love Susanna better. It's not me.
Okay, and the reason it's not you is because you go with the flow, and you take guidance that you're receiving, and you say, okay, I'll go with the flow. If it was Susanna, you'd argue with guidance, and you'd say, I don't think so. I think it's going to be this way. Yeah. Why don't you guys adapt instead of me adapting? Yeah. And because that's not you. You're not in competition with guidance. No. You're in following with guidance. And if you would have gone by Susanna, you would have been competing with them for who needed to give whom orders.
Oh, God. And you know what?
Instead
it's so
of just
funny.
listening.
I don't like to give orders. That bothers me.
Yeah.
Honestly, I really don't like to do that. I just figure, I'm more where I'll teach you something. I'll give you 3 strikes. After that, you're out. If you can't do the job, then I'll say, honey, I know you're trying, but I can't have it. But yeah, I don't like laziness. I don't like somebody who just doesn't want to do it, but they know it. But I don't like to run people like, it's my way or the highway.
No,
I don't want to do that.
because in your name
That
you
bothers
have
me.
that you want to make the world a better place.
I do. I really want peace.
And you want it done smartly.
Yeah, I don't like stupidity, and I don't like
No, you
laziness.
don't. I was going to say you don't have tolerance for stupidity. There's no tolerance.
I don't. I would have more respect when somebody says, Susan, I just don't get it, and I don't think I'm ever going to get it, so this is not my strength. At least be honest, because there's a lot of things I'm not good at. But don't pretend you're good at something just to get your foot in the door.
Right, exactly. But your learning style, Susan, if I may,
Yeah, go ahead.
is you like the teacher when you're learning something new right there close, because you have no patience waiting for an answer if you've got a question on, well, how do you do it? You want the teacher absolutely right there.
True.
And then once you've got the groundwork, once you've got what I call the foundation, you want to be able to build the building yourself. So the minute you've got the foundation, you know you've got the hang of things. Now it's like, go away, you're sitting too close, don't micromanage me, please go help somebody else, goodbye, thank you so much for your help.
Very
but you can't
much.
get rid of them fast enough.
That's true. You know what? My mother used to say, you were always the kind, you were very, very outgoing with people, but when you wanted to do something, you wanted to do it alone. And I was happy. And I liked my alone time. That's why when people go, I don't really like being alone, you need to get reacquainted with yourself. That is something that I think people need to master more.
Well, you also have freedom in your name.
Okay.
So you want the freedom of not being told what to do, which means you'd rather figure it out.
I'll figure it out.
But you like somebody to help you with the foundation first.
True.
You just want the basics. Give me the basics.
Right.
I'll build a building from there.
Oh my God, I love that. And she's spot on.
100%.
100%. There you go.
Yep.
I
And
love
then
this.
you
I love
also
this.
have an incredible memory.
Oh yeah.
An incredible memory. See, that's in the name. Okay, so let's teach just a little bit of this.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay.
How do I know you have an incredible memory?
Yeah.
Because your first name ends in an N.
Ah.
And that's what does it. My name, Sharon, first name ends in an N. And everybody says to me, how can you remember all these patterns in a name? Well, I use mnemonic devices. They're even in the book to help people's memory.
Wow.
All those mnemonic devices. But I think my name ends in an N. Now, when I was born, my birth name, because that's the name that holds your contract for what you came to do, is the birth name, whatever's on that birth certificate.
Got it.
So, and then the rest just gives you more information when you change names and whatnot. But I look at my birth name, all 3 of my names end in an N. There was no way I wasn't going to have a good memory. Then, to go on, an O-N combination. You have combinations of letters. An O-N, like in Sharon, okay, was also in my birth last name. Whatever's in the last name is what you're being taught and what your influence around you is. And then I had it in my first name, so I already had a natural proclivity towards it. And the O-N is logic, deductive reasoning. So when I look at that, and I had it in both names, I look at it and I say, no wonder I was a math major.
Oh, for
There's that
heaven's
memory
sake,
and
yeah.
logic, deductive. It has to be in order for me to be able to think and do something. And I've realized if I don't see a pattern, I don't remember the thing. I always have to look, where's the pattern? Once I see the pattern, then it goes in the memory. And that's what made me a good math teacher, because I would teach him patterns. I was saying, look at the pattern. Here's your recipe.
Well, I read in the book something where it said anything with the CH in a name, they're people that learn the hard way.
Yes, they learn the hard way.
Anything with Christopher or Michael, anything with a CH.
Correct.
Every single Christopher and Michael that I know has had to learn the hard way.
Now, you want to know why they have to learn the hard
Why?
way?
Go
That's what I
ahead.
really like, because it's in the other books.
Oh, I
Okay?
love this. Why?
Okay, is because they don't have the memories. We've got ends. We've got memory.
Oh,
They don't have memory.
wow.
When it happens too easily, they go, oh, last time it was really easy. How did I do that? Totally forgot how I do that. Then they waste all this time trying to remember how they did it, and they could have done it a different way already. So instead, they do it the hard way, and then they go, oh, I remember that. That was so hard.
Right.
Now I'll do it differently this time. So they literally do it the hard way to kick in their memory.
Okay, that makes sense. I mean, a lot of times people would say, my son Michael, he's a really smart kid, but he's so lazy. Ah, I get it. It makes sense, though.
Okay, so why is a Michael lazy? Because in the name Michael is ego.
True.
Okay.
Only
And
because I know 3 Michaels right now. Every single one of them, they want to be loved. They like the spotlight. It's kind
they
of funny.
like ego. So they don't
Oh.
believe they should have to work that hard and able to manifest. It ought to come easier.
Okay.
And
makes
that's what causes
sense.
them to be lazy because, hey, I'm great. I'm wonderful. I'm good at this. That shouldn't take me that long. It ought to just come.
What are some of the names? I know, and if you don't want to answer this, I understand, but what would be some of the names you would say you would want to stay away from?
Okay, so I would want to stay away from a name like Gordon or Heather. Gordon self-sabotages.
Really?
Yeah, Gordon self-sabotage. So it makes them twice as hard or takes them 3 times as long to get where they're going.
Okay.
Because they get in their own way.
Got it.
Okay, it's not that they're a bad person.
No.
They just get in their own way.
I know a Gordon, and he's very powerful, but there's stumbling blocks with him.
Yeah, well, there always is with any Gordon.
Wow.
I call it
okay.
self-sabotage. It's like, get out of your own way.
Right.
Just go with the flow a little bit more.
Okay.
You know? And so I look at that as a difficult name only because, you're getting in your own way.
Got it.
I mean, if other people get in your way, that's one thing. But for you to do it to yourself,
Yeah.
it's like, holy, whatever.
Double whammies.
Yeah. So, and in the name Heather, they're confrontational when they don't get their own way. But they're so beautiful.
Mm-hmm. They are usually pretty girls.
Yes. So in the name Heather is beauty.
Yes.
So they're so beautiful. They're used to people doing for them because people want to get to know them because they're absolutely beautiful. Okay? But because they're so used then to getting other people to do things for them willingly, when people don't do things for them or they don't get their own way, they become combative or argumentative.
Okay.
And so
Okay.
I think that's a hard name because they have to be careful that people want to take advantage of them sexually, and they're used to being idolized, and then they don't know how to get their own way without having people just volunteer it. So then they get combative because they don't have the skills on how do I manifest because everybody's always done everything for me. How do I do it for myself?
Interesting.
So that to me is a hard name.
What do you recommend when parents, they still haven't come up with a name for their child? Now the baby is born. Travis, didn't you say it took a week for your mother to name you?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I would say sit in meditation, sit holding your baby.
Right.
Because your baby will get it across to you one way or another.
You know, when
You
I
just
was,
have to give it time.
It's a great thing that you just said that, because I remember when I was pregnant with Alex, it was going to be an Alex no matter what, girl or boy. I felt very, I don't know, it was very strong. Like I was being told that this child was going to be a tough child. I did, and turned out that, she was a girl. But as feminine as she is on the outside, that's how masculine. She's a toughie. There isn't anything that tough that comes along that she can't handle.
That's that AL combination.
Oh, I love
at the
it.
front of the name.
Well, she's not a wimpy kid. She never was. I could count the times when she cried, when she hurt herself. She's not like that.
Right.
High
And
tolerance of pain.
that's that X. And she's probably a
Oh.
good mediator too.
Oh, her speaking, I mean, she could get up through thousands of people and just start talking. And she's like me, unrehearsed, no script, nothing. She doesn't read from a speech. She doesn't read anything. She just goes.
Okay, now remember how I said in your name, Susan, you wanted to make the world a better place?
Yeah.
That's an AN. In the name Alexandria
She
or
has an
Alexander
AN.
has an AN.
Ah.
So she wants to make the world a better place too.
Oh, she's all about peace.
Yeah.
She's more peaceful than I am. I have to be honest with you.
Yeah, it's all about wanting to make the world a better place. Now, how am I going to go about doing that? In her name, it says she's got to watch her knees, by the way.
Yes, and you're right. She had a cortisone shot 2 years ago. 3 years
Yeah.
ago, actually. She
She-
was young to have that in her knee.
Yeah, she has to watch her knees. And so my suggestion to anybody who has an ND, like a Linda and Alexander, there's a lot of names with an ND combination. That's where I'm getting that with the knees.
Okay.
Is if you don't want to have knee replacement surgery when you're in your late 60s, watch how you get in and out of a car. Sit your butt down, then put both legs in together. Then when you go to get out, you twist, you put both legs down, and then you stand up. What's happening is you're getting in and out of the car with one leg. You're twisting the other knee. And because of the name, you already got sensitivity there. You don't want to do that.
Right. That makes so much sense. And she's got very bad knees. She's a young girl. She's only 29 years old. But I'll tell you, her body, and she's only like 5'2". She's a little thing. She carries things. I mean, the things that she does even for her job. She doesn't complain. She just toughs it out and she does it.
Right. And so just make it easy on her knees.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you're thinking about it, you're getting into the car, you're putting one leg in first. Watch what's happening to that other knee before you bring in that other leg.
That is such a great point.
And then watch what else you're doing that does the same thing.
Okay.
Like when I would be goofing off square dancing. Okay. And then we do bumps and humps and we do all these other things along with the actual square dance because you got a lot of time to get where you're going and stuff. There was one action that used to kick my knee out of joint.
Oh.
And then I'd end up, after a while, after a month or two, I would end up and go, I don't know how to get this thing back in. And I would literally have to go to a therapeutic massage therapist to put my knee back in. And then it was after a while, I was doing that a lot, and I thought, what am I doing that's causing that?
Oh, my God.
And I finally figured out it was that one goofy off move that we were doing when we were square dancing. And when I stopped doing that move, my knee hasn't popped out since. So it's the same thing if you have an ND. That you got to watch when you're twisting your knees.
So, yeah, and she has weak knees.
Yeah.
Always did.
So your propensity for health shows up in your name.
Do you hear that, people?
That's
Interesting.
That one will come out before the end of the year. It'll be called Know the Name, Know the Health. Let's look at your name. What's your propensity? Why is that a propensity?
Oh.
It always is coming back to what belief system, is in there. But it's not actually a belief system. It's an emotion. Because emotions cause diseasement.
Yeah, that's very true.
Okay, so it's what emotion have you grabbed onto? And then I can even tell you in the name, did you inherit it? Are you clearing it for your DNA for your family? Or is it yours?
Well, like I did my wrist, and you said last night, she had, she saw my wrist, and I had the cast on, and she said, "What'd you do?" I said, "It was the oddest thing. I woke up with it, excruciating pain." It's like, how do you just wake up with a pain like that? And you said
it must be
inherited.
Inherited. And so you're clearing it
what
for
that
the
means.
family.
Okay.
Inherited means there's certain things that follow in the DNA through generations.
Right.
Now, when you clear something, this is why you want to meditate. This is why you want to work on yourself and not so worry about fixing everybody else in your family. Just fix you.
Right.
Right? So when you clear yourself, it affects energetically 2 generations up and 2 generations down and your siblings.
Interesting.
And so sometimes 2 generations up, somebody in there wants that cleared. You've inherited that DNA propensity, and they're so grateful.
So I cleared it for somebody else.
You're clearing it for the family. 2 generations up, 2 generations down, and siblings.
Is somebody going to clear it for me? Hey, anybody? I want this pain to go away. Okay, that's cool. I've got one more name to ask you before we go on the next topic. I gave you a name of Deanna. It's a friend of mine. Okay, she does go by the name of Dee, but I gave you her whole name. What is it showing for my lovely Dee?
First of all, she is all heart.
Oh, God, yes.
She is coming from absolute heart. She
sure
does have a
is.
brain, but she's coming from heart.
Oh, everything
feel
she
the
does
heart.
is with heart. Are you kidding? She is a beautiful soul.
Now, because she's coming from so much heart in this name,
she is.
that people can take advantage. And she's got to watch that because she will be the one that puts herself out to go rescue.
I know. I tell her all the time.
And her one
love
of her
her.
big lessons. Okay, so we all come here with 7 lessons, and they're not really lessons. They're things that the soul wants more experience in.
Okay.
That doesn't necessarily mean I did something wrong and I need a lesson. Okay? It's simply that the soul wants more experience in this area and able to understand it better. Okay? So we all have 7 of those. Okay, now some people call them lessons, but I don't look at it that way because I don't look at it punishing God.
No, but I get it. But a lesson to me is something that we're being taught by experience.
Yes.
I do.
But the soul's choosing it. The
Yeah.
soul
Oh, yes.
recognizes,
Absolutely. It's free will.
yeah, I choose
Absolutely.
to have more knowledge in this area.
Yes.
And there's always 7 in a name.
Okay.
Okay? And the birth name tells me those things.
Okay.
Okay, so like if somebody's getting a half-hour reading with me, Susan, I start with 5 minutes. This is why you picked your mother.
Mm-hmm.
This is what you wanted out of her DNA and being around this one.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and this is why you picked your dad. And a lot of people will say, oh, I look at my parents so differently. After just 5 minutes of this is what you got from them.
Mm-hmm.
This is why you put yourself through having them as a parent, right? And then 20 minutes it takes me to explain what you gave yourself, the talents you gave yourself, and able to learn the 7 lessons that you gave yourself.
Love that.
And so we go through how you're going to do it and the easiest way to accomplish it. And the name even has the timing in it. When is this lesson going to start? When is you expected to have it done by?
So when's Dee's lesson's going to be over?
Well, her lovely name says the first 2, by the way, the first 2 out of the 7, you work on your entire life.
Well, that she'll hands down, she'll say yes.
Okay, the first 2. And the other ones are shorter time periods. So in her name, her very first one is that she cannot do for somebody else what that person would not be able to do for her.
You nailed it. That's her.
Okay, and that's her lesson. She's got to learn. If this person wouldn't do this for me, then I am not supposed to do this for them. Because what's causing that is now she's building up karma, doing too much for them. So therefore, the message that they're getting is, I'm not strong enough, good enough, able enough, and able to do this for myself. So you're doing it for me. But therefore, on a soul level, you're literally saying, I'm stronger than you and you're weak. And that's what the soul takes away.
Okay.
So you cannot do for somebody else what they couldn't do for themselves or wouldn't be willing to do for you.
I agree with that. And you know, it took me till I was 47 to learn that lesson.
And isn't it amazing that you know what age you learned it?
I did. I was 47 years old, and I remember the day I learned it, and it was the best gift that I learned. I can't even tell you. I know in the next lifetime, I will not be having to learn and reenact this lesson.
I'll tell you the lesson that I loved learning the most, and I know this sounds really weird.
No, go ahead.
But it was one of the times I was reading all the way through the Bible again. And the definition of honor your parents in the Bible is not what I thought it was. I thought honor your parents means you have to show up, you have to make sure they're okay, you have to all this other stuff. It didn't say that at all. Honoring your parents, according to the Bible, says you copy what they did right and you don't copy what they did wrong. It has nothing to do with talking with them, showing up, anything else. It's literally copy what they did right so the next generation improves.
That's right.
Don't copy what they did wrong.
Amen.
That's it. I've honored my parents.
So true. So true. And there's so much guilt that comes out of it, of what these poor people think they have to do with a narcissistic parent.
Yes.
Think about that.
Oh, hey,
Yeah. It's true. Okay. So I like this. So is Dee going to get it in this lifetime looking at her name?
yes, she'll get it. It's going to take her whole life.
But she will get it before she exits.
She will get it before she exits because she stacked the deck.
Oh, that's great. That's good news to
she
hear.
totally stacked the deck. Now, what's really interesting in her name, and anybody that's heard me before knows that I talk about these 3 L's that show up in a person's name. Because depending on the other letters in the name, it either means you are a victim of violence, you are a perpetrator of violence, or you are both.
Oh.
Okay? Her name says she's the victim.
Oh yeah, she wasn't the person that did this.
Oh yeah,
No.
she couldn't have. She couldn't have.
No.
And you know, some names say that you're both. You're the victim and the perpetrator, right? But the minute there's 3 L's in the name, I always go, "Oh, look, we've got violence in our life. Now let's look and see: are we the victim? Are we the perpetrator? Are we both?" Her name literally tells me she's the victim.
Wow.
So she's got to always think safety. See, that's another combination that means, hey, I better think safety wherever I'm going. Because if not, I'm going to be at the wrong place at the wrong time, or something's going to happen that I'm not going to enjoy.
Right. Right. Okay, got it. I love that.
Okay, so it's right there. And that's why I say
So great. I love that.
is that I started meditating when I was 18. Okay, because like 2 weeks before I was 18, my oldest sister, who meditated with TM all the time, very religiously, she came to me and she says, you know, in the East, if they want their connection with spirit, they meditate for 20 years. And they say it takes 20 years and then you get your connection. And me, almost 18, said, oh, well, then I best get started. I look back and I think, why didn't I think, oh, no, that's too long. Forget that. You know, I didn't. I thought, oh, well, if it takes 20 years, I need to get started. So I started meditating on my 18th birthday.
Okay.
Okay. And so at 36, I got my connection at age 36, 18 years longer of meditating.
Okay, I want to say something about that. I like that you said you started at 18, but you got the connection at 36. Many times I'll tell people there are different ways to meditate. And so many people think it's the traditional meditation and quiet.
No, I tried so many different ways in that 18 years.
But I really think the problem why some people cannot meditate correctly is because they're not doing it right for themselves.
Oh, and it shows in the name what method. I have tried so many methods, and now I look back and I go, I experimented with all those methods because now I know how to correlate what method's going to work for whom based on their name.
Which book is that in, the method?
Oh, for which one? You get that in a reading.
Okay. So you don't have it in your book.
I don't have it in a book.
Okay, because I don't recall reading that. That's why I thought, let me ask you.
Right, and I don't have that. The other thing I don't have in any of my books is you can tell an address whether that's going to work for you or not in your home.
Absolutely. You know, I have people, I love that. They will not buy a house until I look at the address. And I usually do a Zoom where I will look in the house to see if there's spirits. So if I can't get there from a different state or it's too far, believe me, spirits will come through no matter what. And I will look at the address and I will look at everything. And believe me, it's going to tell me a whole picture. It's a whole storyline. And I have told people they've had money, contracts on homes. I'm like, get out of this deal.
Yeah. Well, I've got a funny story to share with you.
Yeah.
A lady who, I'm not going to say her name because she's very well known, called me and she said, I want to live in this state and I found the perfect house for me and here's the address. And I said, you don't want that house. The foundation's horrible in that house. Now, I'm only looking, I wish I could do yours and see that whole panoramic view.
That's all right.
I'm looking at the address only because of how I know how to interpret it.
Right.
And so the number tells me what the house is going to be like for you. The street name tells me what your neighbors are going to be like, and the city tells me whether you're going to like the community. Okay? So I'm looking and I go, that foundation is off. It's horrible. You're not going to want it. It's a fixed or repaired daily. You're going to go broke living in that house. And she goes, I really love it. And I said, you can't afford it.
You were honest.
It's you can love it all you like. And I said, okay, according to your name, if you go back on this day, you'll be able to see it for yourself. So that's the day to go back and visit the house again. So she didn't want to travel up there because she was in a different state. And so she asked friends that lived up there. She said, would you please go by the house on this date and look at it for me? So two of her friends went over to the house and they looked at it and they called her up and they said, this foundation is falling off the lot. You're going to have to redo the whole thing and whatnot. And she says, how do you know that? You're not anywhere close to this state.
You don't have to be. You know.
And I said, I know because I know the address. So the funny thing is, then she had an opportunity to go to a different state. She says, well, then I won't go there. And she had an invite to go to a different state and somebody was going to help her to move and everything. So she said, fine, I'll go there for a while first, right? So then she looks at all the rentals. She says, I know I'm not going to be here forever. I need to just rent. And she looked at all these addresses. When she realized how big this city was and how she was going to be zooming every place and the traffic, right? After she went to the first house, she said, oh, forget this. She called me on the phone. She says, here are all the addresses. Which one do I want?
That's right. Now she got how to do this.
Yes. And so I said, okay, give me all the addresses. Okay, this is the one you want. She goes, great, I'll go there. I'll go there next, right? She went there, she walked in, she goes, oh my God, this is everything I wanted. This is a perfect house for me. And I thought, this is how you save time. It's worth paying you, Susan. It's worth paying me.
I agree.
For your time is so saved when one of us can just look at it and go, oh no, you don't want this one.
That's
or
right.
Yes, this one's great.
I love that. Good for you, because you know what? You are saving them not just money, but you're saving them emotional stress.
Yes.
Every building, every home has energy.
Yes.
And this is what people, they just think it's a building. They just think it's not. It's a lot more than that. And you are going to be very vulnerable in that house more than any other place. It's supposed to be your haven.
Well, I always think houses are supposed to be our sanctuaries.
I agree. You go there and it's got to be your everything. That's where you can unwind, be who you are, relax. If you are never relaxed in your home, it's telling me the energetic flow that's in that home that's not allowing you to relax.
Right, and it's not right for you.
It's not right for you. That's right.
And I sometimes will say, oh, like realtors call me. They have me on retainer, a few realtors. And it's literally, they will say, I'm going to be putting this house on the market. What day do I want to put it on the market?
Mm-hmm.
And who's got the contract to come live in this house?
There you go.
And like just last week, one of the realtors called me and I said, you're not planning on putting it on the market until next week, but you need to put it on now because the couple that wants to come move into this house needs to find a place by this weekend. And if you don't put it on until next week, you're going to miss them. And so she put it on the day that I told her, and the next day she had a full price contract. And they said, we're running out of time. We needed someplace before the end of this weekend.
See? And you hit it right there.
And it's like, okay, it's right here. Because
Wow.
you have to know what's in that contract. And I think we're contracted to be in certain houses at certain times.
Oh, I agree with that. That's a great point that you brought that up because, you know, it was my second house that I had with my husband that I had a demonic spirit in there. And that was the first time that I didn't know that I could get rid of one. I didn't know that about myself because I never had anything demonic. It was a very horrible energy.
And it takes a special person to be able to get rid of that energy.
Well, let me tell you, and not
it's
have
not
it on
easy.
and not have it attached to you.
That's right.
You
It's
know,
not easy.
I have so many people that'll say, you know, if you can't do my house, who do you recommend? I don't know because I'm not going to recommend somebody that I have to know that they are that good to get rid of it. I don't want anybody taking your money for something that they're not going to get rid of. And I'm not talking about just sage in your house. There is a ritual that you have to do to get
Yes.
rid of it and the attachment on the land. It isn't just the home.
Yes.
So,
and you
it's
have
true.
to put up a barrier so that they don't come back once you get rid of them.
Well, that's true. They have to go up and close the
Close it.
door.
Yes.
Okay, you have to close that door. So it is a way to do it, but I agree with that. But that's why I needed to. It's interesting because when I bought the home with my husband, I kept seeing a man sitting on the basement steps, but I never saw his top, just his waist down in painter's pants.
Wow.
So I remember calling the owner, the son, and I said, I found these old painter's pants in the crawl space. I never did. But I just said I did.
But you did. You just found them etherically.
Well, yeah, I did.
You found them.
And he said, oh, my dad's painter pants. So I go, okay, I'm thinking to myself, that's who it is. Because I couldn't see this.
Yes.
And he wasn't speaking to me. And he says, oh, I'd love to pick them up. I'm thinking, oh my God, now what am I going to tell him? I says, well, they're so tattered. They're really all ripped and it's in real bad shape. He goes, oh, they are? And I said, yeah. He says, well, they just throw it away. Well, you know, what else was I going to tell him? He's going to think I'm nuts. While my husband was framing out our basement, and he had the frame out and everything was built and nailed, the next day it would be disassembled. I said, something is in this house and they don't like what you're doing to this basement, I said to my husband. So one day I'm doing the checks and I'm writing the bills and I was in the basement. I went upstairs to see my daughter. I come back down. Everything was in disarray. Everything. And I just said, you know what? I would like to live with you. So you need to stop doing this and work with me. Okay? Because I'm not leaving this house. You're not scaring me. So let's work together. So all of a sudden, I actually see the assembly of what he wanted. He wanted a wall, but he didn't want a full wall. He wanted the basement, as you're going down the stairs, in a half a wall. I said, my husband can do that. My husband did it. It was never disassembled again. It wasn't until 5 years later his wife died, and I remember I was lying in my bed. My husband and daughter were out, and I had a terrible migraine, and all of a sudden I looked. It was his wife, and it was him, but this time, after 5 years, he came full. I saw his face. I saw everything. He goes, I was waiting for my girl.
Oh,
And I
that's
said,
lovely.
it was beautiful. Beautiful. Well, the 5 years that I was in this house with him, he helped me pick out my drapes. Okay. He protected my daughter. He was just such a kind soul. But he was earthbound. He did not go through the light. He refused until his wife passed and they went together. So my home was his little portal. You know? But I can remember after he left, there was some demonic spirit in there, and I'll never forget it. And that's when I learned something about myself. So when you said we are in these places sometimes for a reason, again, you're right on the money. That's when I first learned.
and how to do that. And
I did.
I'll tell you, it takes somebody who's incredibly high in their level of consciousness to be able to clear one of those spirits and do it correctly.
Mm-hmm. I'm not going to lie to you. I've had some pretty profound, terrible spirits, stubborn, nasty people that were here once on earth, deranged, mentally incompetent, depressed, alcoholic. I've had them all. Practical jokers, pedophiles, murderers. I've had them all.
And you know what? I think the worst ones are the tricksters.
They are.
The tricksters and the pranksters.
Because
those guys.
they don't let up.
Yeah.
They don't let up. So it's very true, you know?
See, and I can see them, but I don't know how to get rid of them.
Okay.
And that's when I recommend people to you or the one other person I know. I only know
Right.
2 of you guys that can do that.
Not
And
a whole
I
lot.
know a lot of people with gifts.
Yeah.
But only 2 of you guys can do that.
It's a toughie. I'm not going to lie to you. It's not an easy
Yeah.
thing. People think that they could just go and learn it.
No.
I don't think so.
But you know what, though, too?
I don't think
what
so.
people don't understand is in your name, it has where your gifts and talents are and what you came to do and where your money lies. What are you doing that causes money? What are you doing because it's fun? But where's your money lying? Okay, all of that's in a name. And so many people want somebody else's gifts. I want to do what they're doing.
I know. I
And
get
they
that.
can't do it because it's not for them to do this lifetime. And it's like I want to look at people and go, sweetheart, if you do what you came to do, you will be happier than if you're trying to do that thing that's not meant for you. It's not in your contract this time around.
I agree with that because I had a lady, I was doing a Zoom session, and a very intuitive girl. She was. I mean, she had the gift. And she says, what do you think if I do this for a living? And I said, here's what I see. I feel, and I'm getting this very strong, that this is not your lifetime to do this because you will not be able to handle it. And as good as you are, that's how much energy is going to come, and it's going to ruin what you are meant to do in this contract of life.
Yes.
You know what she said to me? I had a feeling. And I'm so glad I asked the question. I said, honey, I would love to see you do it, but I think you're going to pay a bigger price.
Right, because
Yeah.
it's not everybody's turn.
Amen.
It's like
It's so true. It's not your turn.
it's not your turn.
It's a good way. I got to remember that. Thank you. It's not your turn.
That's right.
That's
it's
a
not
great
your turn.
way to look at that.
So
Okay.
it's your turn to do this over here. And to me, the clues are all in the name. And the reason I like reading the names so well, yes, I can get out of the way and I can have spirit tell me what to tell you. I can do those kind of readings too.
Mm-hmm.
The reason I like the names so well is because you don't have to have any gifts. You just have to learn the pattern.
Well, you do have the gifts, and you do. So know the name, know the person. I want to show everybody. This is the book, okay?
Yes.
Sharon Lynn Wyeth. Know the name, know how to connect, which I love. This is a great tell-all in how you can connect with spirit.
Well, it's how you connect with another person.
Okay.
And how you stay connected and what's going to disconnect you.
Okay.
And why are some people harder to connect with than others based on it's literally only about the first vowel and the first name because that's our communication.
Okay.
Because our vowels represent our emotions and our consonants represent our attitudes.
Interesting. I like that. And then the last one is know the name, know the spirit. This is an incredible book. They all are. And you are working on another book, you said. What is that?
And it will have a green cover,
Okay.
green with know the name, know the health.
I love that.
And it's going to be in green because green helps you get healthy.
I love that you're doing this book because I can't preach enough about medically intuitiveness, and it's in this book. I know it is, and this is going to be a great source for people to go to. And I know this book will come out shortly, and I will advertise your book when it's done.
Okay,
I
thank
will
you.
put it on.
My goal is this fall before
Okay.
Christmas.
Okay,
My
good.
goal is you can give it as a Christmas gift.
Okay,
That's
so
my goal.
we're going to do that. We're going to promote this book because this is a great gift to give somebody, and it's a no-brainer to read. This is another thing. I love your writings because you don't have to be a professor to understand it.
Well, thank you. You know, my first editor on the first book, I wrote, and I sent him the first 3 chapters. And he called me up, and he said, Sharon, you write like a math major. And I said, well, 1, I am a math major. And 2, that doesn't sound like a positive.
Well, you're a very smart etiquette woman, and I love all of that. But you know what? Some people have problems reading. So what I like the easy read because people can comprehend it and they get it.
And that's really because
It's so
of my
true.
first editor, when he said that, I said, okay, it doesn't sound positive. Don't worry about my feelings. Pretend I don't have any. And just tell me what's wrong with this book. How do we math majors write that we're not supposed to be writing?
Well, let me tell you something. You mastered it. You did a great job
And
with
he
all
told
of
me,
this.
I
You did.
I rewrote that book 10 times because of all the input.
I can see why, though, because I know where you're coming from, but the average person won't. But what you did with these books, incredible.
Thank you.
I also want to, before we leave, I want people to know about your radio. Okay, you have a podcast radio, and talk to
Yes,
people.
and you're my guest this Thursday.
I can't wait. Tell people how they can tune in.
Well, the easiest way is to go to bbsradio.com, and it airs at 7 p.m. Eastern Time on Thursday or 4 p.m. California time. And if you just go to bbsradio.com, you can pull it on that way. Or you can go to my website, which is knowthename.com, and just go to the schedule page. And on every Thursday, you see the little thing that says we're on the radio.
Okay.
It talks about who my guest is going to be, how you call in and get to ask questions, a way of calling in if you want to listen that way versus going onto the internet. And it gives you all the information that you need. And then all of the other Thursdays, they'll also have the archive any Thursday in the
nice.
past.
Okay.
And it'll tell
perfect.
you about my guest and the archive.
Now, how can people reach you for a session
The
with you?
easiest way is the website knowthename.com. So if anybody's literally doing something right now, their hands are wet because they're doing dishes or they're in the car, and you go, oh, I need to remember the name. I need to know the name of that website. You go, oh, yeah, that was it. Know the name.
Great idea. I love it because it's easy. Okay, they can get a hold of you. They can make, what is it? Is it a phone session? How do you do these things?
I do it over the phone.
Okay, perfect. And you know my thing with the phone. Phone works just as great as in person.
Well, God
You
is
don't-
not limited by where my body is.
Absolutely. I say it all the time. And okay, so for those of you that heard this, tune in, go buy Sharon's books. It will not be a waste. You will love every minute of reading. It is such, you're going to enjoy it. It's a great read, all three of them. And tune into her radio. This is great. And if you can, please sign up for a session with Sharon. I guarantee you will not be disappointed. Sharon, thank you so much for being my guest. It was an honor and a pleasure beyond words.
It was my gift to be here. Thank you so much.
I mean this sincerely, and more to come. Believe me, I will have you again.
Great.
Okay, you take care.